All right, it is time to take a look at the Super Wild Card Awards. We've done that every Tuesday all season long. Charean Williams, MDS, and I go through Offensive Player of the Week, Defensive Player of the Week, Rookie of the Week, Coach of the Week. We're going to do it now. MDS, we welcome him in. I have a feeling that our three box isn't working today, so it's going to be interesting to see how we work this out with all three. But MDS, hello to you, and let's get right to it. Offensive Player of the Week for the Super Wild Card round. There he is. MDS, what do you got?
Well, I've got Lamar Jackson, who had another double-triple, which of course means more than 100 yards, both running and passing. And I liked the attitude he displayed. He reminded me a little bit of Michael Jordan saying, I took that personally, with the way he seemed to really want to prove that, no, I am not a playoff choker. And yes, I can win a big game. He won a big game in a big way. And I think we're going to see a lot more playoff wins from Lamar Jackson for many years to come.
Speaking of a lot of postseason wins, MDS, you're one of the best stat people I know. And one of my favorite stats from last weekend was Tom Brady was starting his 42nd postseason game. The Bucs were playing as a team, as a franchise, were playing in their 16th postseason game. It was their first win since 2002, their 7th postseason win in history. Tom Brady, of course, is 31-11 in his postseason career, and he was outstanding in this game. He had the fourth most yards he's ever had in any postseason game, 381 yards, threw for 2 touchdowns. If he keeps playing like that, they've got a good chance to beat the Saints this weekend, Mike.
Josh Allen last year would have lost on Saturday, to the Colts because the Colts outplayed the Bills. Josh Allen this year, with the confidence he's developed, the performances we've seen, the growth that we've witnessed, Josh Allen, Offensive Player of the Week for me because he was the difference. With the Colts having 450 yards, no turnovers, they should have won the game. The Bills' defense wasn't great. Their running game wasn't there. But there's a calm, there's an assertiveness, there's something different about Josh Allen than last year. He had that play where he was falling down and threw the touchdown pass. Last year, that's a fumble or an interception. That's not a touchdown because we saw some goofy, out-of-control play from him in the postseason last year. This year, it was special. And to get back to Lamar Jackson and Tom Brady, to thread it all together, something I said earlier today on PFT Live, which I firmly believe, is we look for the next Tom Brady-Peyton Manning rivalry that continues to renew itself year after year after year. The fact is there are so many great quarterbacks in the NFL, we're going to have an assortment of great rivalries and guys who are going to cross paths in the playoffs from time to time. And Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen is a great one potentially. Not that we're going to see it every year, but we're going to see it. And we're going to see Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. We're going to see Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. We're going to see Baker Mayfield and Josh Allen. We're going to see all of these various combinations of great young AFC quarterbacks as they progress through their 20s and through their 30s. And it's a great thing for the National Football League to not have it all tied up in 2 guys, but to have a broader spread of great quarterbacks who will have games against each other in the postseason. All right, Defensive Player of the Week for the wild card round, the Super Wild Card round. Get it right. MDS, who do you have?
Well, I could have chosen several players from the Ravens defense, but I decided to go with Derek Wolfe, who had 6 tackles of Derrick Henry, also had a sack on Ryan Tannehill. And, Derrick Henry had 18 carries for only 40 yards, which was his lowest output of the year. But I actually think even more important than that, he didn't have a single rushing first down. And when you think of a player like Derrick Henry, what do you want from him in the playoffs? You want him picking up first downs and moving your offense down the field. The Ravens completely prevented him from doing that. I thought Derek Wolfe, among many players, just had a phenomenal game. He said after the game that he relished the opportunity, the physical challenge of tackling Derrick Henry. He did a great job of it.
MDS, I didn't think the Rams had a chance against Seattle unless they could score a defensive touchdown or a special teams touchdown. Well, guess what? They did just that. They were up 6-3 when Darius Williams does what Darius Williams does against Russell Wilson. He intercepted him. This time it was a pick 6, read the screen beautifully, and returned it 42 yards to the end zone, which was the key play in that game. And guess what? DK Metcalf couldn't chase him down either. Take that, Buda Baker. But he's intercepted Russell Wilson 3 times this season. He had 5 total interceptions. 3 of them came against Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson needs to quit throwing against him, no touchdowns against him, and a 26.5 passer rating when throwing at Darius Williams this year. So next year, Russell Wilson, pick somebody else, maybe Jalen Ramsey instead of Darius Williams.
I'm not nearly as enthused about college football as I used to be for a variety of reasons that aren't really we don't have time for me to get into it here. And this year with the pandemic and all that, I cared about it even less. But I'm a supporter of West Virginia great Karl Joseph, who was disappointing during his early career with the Raiders. He was a first-round draft pick. Getting his second life with the Browns, I think I made him a Defensive Player of the Week at some point during the regular season. I've made him the Defensive Player of the Week for the wild card round. Right place, right time, right attitude, right mindset to go get the ball when Marquise Pouncey snapped it past Ben Roethlisberger on the first play from scrimmage on Sunday night. It's almost like Roethlisberger and James Conner didn't want to run into each other. Nobody committed to go get the ball. In a moment like that of confusion and chaos, you just go get the ball. And that was the first domino that triggered that 28-0 outburst by the Browns. They held on. I think if there would have been another 15 minutes in the game, the Steelers may have caught the Browns. But Joseph started that landslide, and he deserves credit for getting on the ball when others were wondering what in the hell was going on. So congratulations to Karl Joseph. It's time for the rookie of the Super Wild Card round. MDS, who you got?
Well, we don't often talk about kickers in our weekly awards, but I wanted to mention Bills kicker Tyler Bass, who went 2 for 2 on field goals, 1 from 46 yards, 1 from 54 yards. You know, Bass was a 6th-round draft pick. Drafting a kicker is always a little risky, but when you're the Bills and you're drafting a kicker, what you are thinking is this a guy who's going to make a 54-yarder on a cold and windy day in Buffalo in the playoffs if we need him to? And Bass answered that question. That was why you use a draft pick on a kicker, Tyler Bass's game this weekend.
MDS, I said that the Rams needed a defensive touchdown. They also needed a good running game with their quarterback situation, as it were. John Wolford, of course, left in the first quarter after being hit in the neck and head area. And then after that, Jared Goff came in with his injured thumb, and Cam Akers was the answer to that offense. Outstanding game by the rookie, 28 carries, 131 yards, and a touchdown. He also had 2 catches for 45 yards. Just really did an outstanding job in his first playoff game, Mike.
Patrick Queen, the Ravens linebacker, the guy from LSU who's had a very, very good season. Not good enough to be Defensive Rookie of the Year because that's Chase Young's award. But I go back to what MDS was saying as it relates to Derek Wolfe and the Ravens defense and having those linebackers who were able on the interior portion of the scrum get to the hole and help get Derrick Henry on the ground, even though Queen only had 2 tackles, clogging things up and making it impossible for Henry to get ahead of steam. That's the flaw in his game. He needs 2 or 3 steps before he's at full capacity. So you swarm and you get to him and you plug those lanes and you keep him from getting to a spot where he has the momentum to either run through you or run around you. And Patrick Queen was a big part of that team effort aimed at shutting down Derrick Henry and delivering the Ravens to the divisional round. All right, Coach of the Week, Super Wildcard Round edition. MDS, you're up.
Well, Alex Van Pelt took over offensive play calling with Kevin Stefanski watching the game from home, and I thought Van Pelt did a great job. And what I particularly liked is he didn't get overly conservative. It would have been tempting. You're an assistant coach taking over for the head coach. You don't want to screw anything up. It would have been so tempting to say, okay, we've got an early lead. Let's just sit on the ball, go nice and conservative. They didn't do that. They were still taking some shots, and they ended up needing more than the 28 points they had in the first quarter. I thought Alex Van Pelt did a phenomenal job of keeping that offense rolling all game.
You're absolutely right, MDS. And I was trying to figure out if they could just run the ball the rest of the way, if they could run out the clock, but they weren't conservative. My choice is Sean McVay, so I think I've got the slot machine Rams because this is my 3rd Ram of the day. But, you know, on Sean McVay, you can question his quarterback choice, and I'm sure that's been done all over the world, probably even by Jared Goff. You can question why he didn't have a third quarterback on the roster with his number 2 quarterback, Jared Goff, banged up. But you can't question his success, and he has been very successful since he's been with the Rams. 4 seasons, 3 postseason appearances, and just done an outstanding job. He's never had a losing record, and he did a very good coaching job in a game this weekend that nobody gave them a chance to win with their quarterback situation as it was.
Well, we complete the slot machine with the Ravens, from Derek Wolfe to Patrick Queen to the guy who was in charge of the victory that the Ravens got. And look, this was, I think, a very difficult spot for John Harbaugh, because they lost to the Titans convincingly in the divisional round last year at home. They lost to the Titans at home in the regular season in overtime, and there was that whole issue with John Harbaugh approaching Titans players like A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown told me after the game, I didn't know what was going on. A coach is going to approach players like he wants to fight. And then he gets into it with Mike Vrabel, and Mike Vrabel very dismissive, go coach your team, go coach your team. You know, Harbaugh had to strike the right balance, get the right attitude, not be too emotional, and also go into Nashville as the favorite. That was a huge benefit for the Titans when it comes to the standpoint of developing a chip on your shoulder. Wait a minute. We're the better team. We're the higher seed. We've beaten these guys twice, and we're the underdogs. Harbaugh got past it, pulled it all together, and got the Ravens to focus, and also presided over that effort that came up with the right plan for shutting down Derrick Henry, to the point where if I'm the Jaguars, the Texans, the Colts next year, that's my blueprint for trying to slow down Derrick Henry. If I'm anybody who plays the Titans in the future, that's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to mimic what the Ravens did, because I need to get to Derrick Henry and knock him off his feet before he can kill me. The Ravens pulled that off. Easier said than done, but they pulled it off, and because of that, they're moving on, and they have a very good chance, I think, to beat the Bills coming up on Saturday night.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.